All right, Daryl Pearson here with David Spangler. He is with the Lake Erie Waterkeepers Association, and he's going to share with us some very important information as to the state of Lake Erie, and we're also going to find out exactly what he sees as a shared vision for the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Basin. David, welcome.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I am also a Lake Erie charter boat captain. I have been for 19 years, and over the years since I fished the lake, I've seen it go from back when it was dead to back when it was in good shape, and we are now back to it being almost dead again. We are in very serious trouble in Lake Erie, due primarily to microcystis. The algae blooms in the past few years have been very, very heavy. We thought last year was as big as we've ever seen. This year was worse than that. Worse in duration and very much so worse in coverage over the lake. We are seeing this now in places that we did not ever see it before. It is very, very thick, very, very extensive as far as the amount of water that it covers, and it is so thick on the water that our boat wakes turn dark green as we're going through them, and you can actually sense and feel the algae as the hull goes across it. Very, very effective.
Let us see, I understand you have a sample of what the algae looks like. He's got a sample of the algae from Lake Erie that he brought with us to share. So very, very interesting. I think you'll be amazed and blown away.
Now, of course, this is agitated, and as the water calms down, this will settle. This material, this algae, floats. So eventually, it'll clear up a little bit to the bottom. But this was scooped up off of the surface 6 miles offshore between Huron, Ohio and Vermilion, Ohio. Basically at the edge of the central basin, which typically does not get this kind of algae growth.
So Lake Erie, back in the 60s, it was declared near dead.
Yes.
And there was an article recently in the Detroit Free Press that said the state of Lake Erie is in as bad condition or worse as it was back in the 60s when it was declared nearly dead. Is this the situation that you see?
This was the situation again. Yes. Wherever you went from late July on, you would find this algae all across the watershed, the entire western basin, and now most of the east or western portion of the central basin has this stuff everywhere. It's very ugly looking, of course. When we take customers out to go fishing, they're asking all kinds of questions about what is this stuff. And of course, they've heard some of the stories about it, especially because Ohio has another lake down in central Ohio, Grand Lake St. Mary's, that's had huge, huge issues with the same algae. And it's made national news. They've had pets die, people get sick. They actually closed the lake to everybody last year. So of course people are always worried about contact with this. And the other bad thing is it has a smell to it, which is not a pleasant smell. So you know that it's there too. You can, in addition to seeing it, you can smell it. It's not nice. And it's going to have a dramatic effect on the ecology of the lake. As this massive bloom dies now in the fall and into the winter, of course it's going to fall to the bottom of the lake, start deteriorating, and as it does that, it will pull up all the oxygen out of the water and affect the microorganisms that cannot escape and basically kill them.
Well, let me ask you a couple of questions. Obviously, this is unique to or somewhat unique to Lake Erie, but overall, if you look at the Great Lakes, what would you say is kind of a common theme that we should look at envisioning where the Great Lakes is and where it should be?
There are other areas that have this problem and serious problems. I think one of the issues that is probably the most important is people are not aware. There's not enough publicity. Even though I know all the newspapers and there's lots of literature out there, society today does not dwell into the scientific as much as what they used to. If you don't live on Lake Erie, work on Lake Erie, or are affected by it, you tend to forget that it's there and just assume that it is so big that the Great Lakes can take care of themselves. The other Great Lakes, being very, very deep, don't rotate their water very quickly. We're talking a couple hundred years. Lake Erie takes about 2.5 years to roll over its water. So if we could do something, get something started, Lake Erie could heal itself like it did before. Back when we had this problem and it was attacked from the phosphates and the detergent standpoint. Basically, we're talking phosphorus and we're talking warm water. We can't do anything about the warm water, but we sure can do something about the phosphorus. And unfortunately, I don't see a lot happening.
So what do you think that's important to taking a larger view of the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Basin? What do you think what do you think is important to us in this area, and what do you think we should pay attention to?
We need to look at primarily 3 places. Of course, we can look at a lot of places. The fertilizer you put on your lawn may have phosphorus in it. Mature grass does not need phosphorus at all, so why put it on there? Every little bit will help as far as what we dump into our streams. But the 3 main areas that really need the concentration are agriculture, and I'm talking commercial as well as animal manure that gets applied sometimes during the wintertime on frozen fields, runs off into the ditches, out into the rivers, and eventually gets out into the lake. This stuff is dumped into the lake very, very early in the season, especially with our flooding situations that we always have in the springtime. The other areas that need to be attacked are the Toledo sewage system and the Detroit sewage system. I believe Detroit is the largest sewage system in the world, but it dumped already 30 million gallons of sewage into the Detroit River, which gets out into the lake. Toledo is dumping millions too. Their systems are so antiquated that when we have the very heavy storms, the stormwater system overwhelms and runs into the sewage system, and everything ends up dumping out into the lake. These systems are very, very old. Unfortunately, neither city has enough money to do anything, which is the big crux. Everyone knows that the systems are old, they need fixed, but where does the money come from?
Well, how do we promote this? How do we get the word out and share with more individuals about these issues?
I wish I had the answer to that. I don't know what
What's your wish list?
My wish list is that every single person in Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, well, any of the Great Lakes surrounding states.
Let's not forget our neighbors to the north.
And the neighbors to the north especially. They have a lot of shoreline too. Anybody that's anywhere close to the Great Lakes and the St. Lawrence Seaway. Even if it's something old-fashioned like a mass mailing to the world saying, hey, we have a problem here. Look at this stuff. Can you do anything to help us? And again, like I say, if you want to make a little rain garden in your backyard, if you don't want to apply fertilizer that has phosphorus in it, if you want to come down and help us, or if you want to hand us $5 to apply to something, every place needs help along the Great Lakes.
Let's fast forward 23, 24 years from now, 2035, what do you see as a shared vision for the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Basin?
If we don't do something very soon, we are going to ruin the Great Lakes, starting with Lake Erie. And I don't mean to go to Lake Erie all the time because that's what I know, but it is the shallowest, the warmest, has the most fish, has the most everything to offer from a lake standpoint. It will go first. The other lakes, being deeper and colder, don't have the algae problem. They do have other problems, invasive species, water drawdowns, a lot of other things that are out there too. So there are more issues than the algae, but to me the algae is the single biggest issue we have out there.
All right. Well, so as far as action steps moving forward, what we can do 2011, just give me your top 2 action steps.
Okay, the top 2 to me, and I will pick on agriculture, knowing that the other 2 areas I discussed, the sewage systems, are going to take a lot of money, which is not there right now. The agriculture community can do a lot better job on how, when, and what they apply from a fertilizer standpoint. We've had a lot of studies done in Ohio. Ohio State University has well over 1 million studies on soil test samples and fields, and about almost 23% of those fields sampled have already too much phosphorus on them, way beyond what the crops could absorb.
Okay.
That would be the quickest place to start, is to get all of the farmers' attention, and let's attack it. Some farmers are. I don't want to blame all of them, but we have some that do not.
Right.
And we need to go there. That's the one spot where we can at least start to do something this fall, because the fall and winter applications are the first step of this migration of phosphorus out through the waterways out into the lake.
Sounds like you've got the plan, and we appreciate you sharing it. We appreciate you giving us the information about the state of Lake Erie. I think it's very serious, and it's something that we definitely need to share, and to really take some steps to get some improvements within local infrastructure and other policy issues that need to be dealt with, so that we can move forward and have a healthy Great Lakes and St. Lawrence basin. So appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right. Great.